Hello, good people of YouTube. Today I'm bringing you guys my second impression review for the new Tier 8 Premium German battleship Odin. For those of you that don't know how this works, my review process is a review in progress style, where I go over the ship in my first impressions video, and that is my genuine first impressions of the ship for the first 4 or 5 games. You guys get to see my live first impressions of the ship. And then the second impressions video is much more of a traditional review style where I talk about the ship after having played it for a certain period of time. And if you want the specs of the ship, the characteristics, my captain build, all of that, that is in the first impression video. These videos are meant to be watched as a series because, again, it's a review in progress. So I'm still using the same build, the same captain, the same setup, all from the first impression video. And if you want to know the specifications of the ship, please go watch the first impressions video. I will talk about most of them in this video, but I go over all the details in that first impression video. Otherwise, each of these videos would be like 20-30 minutes long because I'd have to go over the stats of the ship every single time. Anyway, the Odin. So, a couple things I want to address about the Odin right off the bat. People were asking me, well, how'd you get the ship so fast? And I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the video, but I did just buy the ship with doubloons. That's part of being a channel that reviews premium ships and World of Warships. I can't really wait for to grind out the directives because by that time, it'd be 2 patches later, I believe. Well, it runs for 2 patches. I think they release new directives every week or so, but I can't wait that long to release a review of a ship. The part of me buying the ship with the balloons and buying the gear and the Siegfried is to review them for you guys, so you guys can see my reviews and my opinion, and that'll help you make your decision whether or not you want to spend the time grinding these ships out, because each of the 3 ships that were released, the 3 big ones at least, you do have to go through a very long and grindy process to get them. So I take the L and buy them early and show you guys what I think about them. And sometimes I take a big fat L because sometimes some ships are very expensive and aren't really worth the money. And sometimes they're just downright bad, but that's part of reviewing ships on YouTube. So that's how I got the Odin. So how does it feel after having played it for quite some time? It still feels good. It's a really fun ship. I am surprised. Because, you know, there's a whole lot of negativity around the Odin when it was announced. There was a lot of hype about it because it looked pretty fun. And for those of you that maybe don't know, the gist of the Odin is that it's a Tier 8 Scharnhorst. It has 305mm guns, torpedoes, very good secondaries, very nice armor for its tier. The guns are small for its tier like the Scharnhorst. They have a pretty quick reload time, and it sounds very, very good, and it is. Now, the big controversy about the Odin, for those of you that don't know, is that its original health pool was 62,000 hit points, but then Wargaming slashed it by 10,000 hit points and never returned any percentage of that health. And people were understandably pissed that that had happened. And Wargaming kept saying that the ship was overperforming with 62,000 health. And honestly, I have to say, guys, if this ship had 62,000 health, yeah, it would be overperforming a lot. Because even with only 52,000 health, with tier 5 levels of health, this is a strong ship. It's a really strong ship. And I know that's not going to be a popular thing to say, but it's the truth. This is a very good and a very strong ship. And yes, it does only have 305mm guns. They are small for its tier. Yes, they did nerf the reload to 23 seconds. But, guys, it's got some of the best secondaries at tier 8. Not the best, but some of the best. It has Tirpitz torpedoes. It has turtleback armor. It has great deck armor. There's a lot of HE spammy ships that their only way of doing any significant amount of damage to this ship is just by hoping that you set enough fires. This ship is very tough. It can brawl. The only reason I got smacked so hard in my first impressions video in the second game because I was going up against a Roma, a ship that is basically the best battleship to deal with other German battleships because of the absolutely insane pinning ability of its guns, because of its velocity and the shells that it fires. That's why I got slapped, and because I did miss the torpedoes on the Roma. That was my own fault. But this is a very good ship. Now, when it gets up to tier 10, that's what a lot of people say. They'll say, well, okay, it's good at tier 8, but at tier 10, it's horrible, right? I mean, what tier 8 doesn't suffer when it gets up to tier 10? There's maybe 2 that I can think of, and that's the Torpedoes, because it has torpedoes, and it's the Torpedoes, and the Massachusetts, because the Massachusetts is incredibly strong, has a very nice heal, very nice cooldown on its damage con, and very nice secondaries and American 16-inch guns with American dispersion and all that stuff. All of the tier 8s suffer when they get up to tier 10. And the Odin does suffer. It does. It only has 305mm guns. Basically, it gets drawn down to just HE spamming, which isn't that hard to do on this ship, because 9 guns with pretty decent HE, it's pretty much the same guns that the Aegir has. The AP just does slightly less damage, with a 23-second reload time, with admittedly not the best dispersion, but it's better than most other German battleships, and it can keep up, honestly, in tier 10. You're not going to be leading the leaderboards in it. As you guys saw in the first impressions video, I only did like 40-something thousand damage in it, but I still came 4th on the team in a tier 10 game, because I managed to keep up with the amount of damage that the other ship did. I didn't cap. I don't think I shot down any planes. I just managed to do, a decent bit of damage for that match, and it kept up. And in other tier 10 games, it's done roughly the same. I've, not led the leaderboards in it, but it's kept up in tier 10 games. So it's a good ship. It really is. I do think it's worth the grind, absolutely, especially since the grind this time around is pretty dang easy. If you look at the directives, you very well may get halfway done with the ship and not even be trying to get it, because the directives it's incredibly simple. I don't know how else to say it. A lot of it's just earn, I think it's like 50 spotted ribbons here, do 100,000 damage, earn 2,500 base XP, it's not that low, but it's very simple directives that you will finish just by playing the game. And the caveat is, of course, you do have to buy 2 directive stages, and that's going to cost you 3,500 doubloons, which is about, $10 worth of doubloons, I think. So it's not really an incredibly expensive ship. It's $10. That's it. $10 for a tier 8 premium, a very good tier 8 premium. So that little bit out the way right there. I didn't mean to sound very ranty, but it's just, there's a lot of, I don't know, I guess mob mentality toward this ship about it's crap, but it's really not. Anyway, the strong suits of the ship. Secondaries are some of the best tier 8 secondaries. It doesn't have the amount of secondaries that the other German battleships have, but they're pretty dang good, the ones that she does have. You can get them out to 11.6 kilometers. They have reload times on par with the Bismarck and the Tirpitz. And the firing angles, they aren't fantastic, but if you're playing the ship how the ship's meant to be played, slightly angled, trying to get ships to shoot your armor belt, at that range, pretty much every tier 8 battleship will bounce off of your armor. Now tier 10, again, you gotta play the ship completely different at tier 10. Going nose in, slightly angled, approaching enemy ships, the secondaries will do their job. And I have gotten Lucian's captain seal to pop off more often now that I have a better feel for the firing angles for the secondaries. So that's very nice too. And of course the torpedoes. Thing has Tirpitz torpedoes, and they're mounted in the back, Graf-Spee style. So when you're charging at an enemy, you don't have to, like in the Tirpitz, and you see a lot of Tirpitz players get punished for this, since they're mounted in the middle of the ship, you do have to show a larger amount of broadside in order to get the torpedoes off. And the Odin, since they're further back, the firing angles, obviously you have to have more of the ship. How do I explain this? You have to have the ship further up on the enemy ship before you can pop off the torpedoes. On the turrets, they're mounted in the middle of the ship, so the firing arcs on the turrets extend up to about the bow, about to the bow of the turrets, whereas the torpedoes are set further back on the Odin on the stern. So, if you understand what I'm saying, you have to be further along the enemy ship in the Odin before you can launch your torpedoes. But when you're approaching them bow on, since they're mounted at the stern, you don't have to turn out and show a lot of broadside like you do with the turrets to pop your torpedoes off if you aren't just already like flat broadside to them. I hope I explained that to where that's understood. Oh god, I hope I didn't confuse all of you. But in layman standards, the torpedoes are good. The angles are pretty good. They're kind of awkward to get used to if you're used to the turrets. You can see that happen with me a couple of times in the first impression video, but they're good. They are. Now, the main battery guns. Are they fantastic? No. Are they terrible? Not entirely. You will be able to pin heavily armored cruisers and the broadsides of battleships that are flat onto you. And they do still pack a punch. Are you going to be doing amazing salvos at maximum range? No, of course not. Like every German battleship, the sweet zone for the Odin is a little ways outside of its secondary range, and then just from there until it's a knife fight. When you're inside of that range, guns perform okay. They'll get you through. I mean, I think my average damage in the Odin by now is actually like 100,000 damage. And yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty dang good. Granted, I think it's only like 15 games, but still. That's a pretty good average for 15 games. And mind you, that's in today's World of Warships with really passive teams and all that. Have an average of 100,000, if not close to 100,000. So the ship's performing very well. Now, granted, I do play German battleships a lot, so I have a very good feeling of them and I have a very, very, very good idea of how they're meant to be played. So a large number of you guys here are that as well. So you should do well in the Odin. And I understand the outrage towards wargaming over nerfing it, but honestly, guys, if this thing had 62,000 health, it would be overpowered. It would be greatly overpowered. Because the survivability of this ship is really, 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 really good because of its armor, like I said in the opening of this video. It's not a situation like the Verbis Unitas to where, you know, they do all this crazy stuff to try and fix it. They can't put it at tier 4 because the guns are too accurate, but they don't want to nerf the guns, so they put it at tier 5, where it's going to be in, you know, an aircraft carrier game 90% of the time, and it has almost no AA. Could they have given it about 5,000 more health and it been fine? Probably so. But even at 52,000 health, this ship really performs well, guys. It's consistent from what I've seen in good games and in bad games. If you know what you're doing and know how to play it, which it's played like a German battleship, you smash W, you forget the S key exists, and you go to town, and the ship performs well. Now, when it gets to tier 10, again, like every other tier 8 battleship, it doesn't do that well. You are relegated to just HE spamming from mid-range, and you're not going to get crazy damage numbers. Now, if you do find yourself in a tier 10 game, and some loon in a tier 10 battleship charges you, you can nuke them. You've got torpedoes, your ship's a torpedo, nuke them. Kill them with a 52,000 health battleship. That's the ultimate flex, and the Odin makes that pretty simple. I mean, you won't be able to do it to like a Yami, but certainly to a Montana or a GK or anything that doesn't have, well, Yami's torpedo protection. Okay, maybe not the Kremlin because it does have 8,000 health. But you can do it. I've done it. Is it easy? I mean, kinda. If they're the ones to close that engagement range to close that engagement range. Is it going to happen every game? No, of course not. But that's the thing. It has torpedoes, and good armor for brawling. You know, does it have the health to consistently brawl like the GK does? No, it doesn't. But if you pick your target, choose your fight, play smart, this is a very, very, very good ship. And again, worth the grind because it's essentially a $10 ship. And yes, you can argue that, oh no, it's you know, you have to grind all this, then you have to pay this. But yes, you can argue all that. But at the end of the day, it's a good ship. Looking at the ship by itself, it's a good ship. And again, if they put it on sale in the store after, I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it from $10 or free up to the normal price of a tier 8. It's a good ship. Is it better than the Tirpitz? Arguably not. Is it better than the Bismarck? Arguably not. Is it better than the Massachusetts? Arguably not. But it is a good ship. A lot of people are saying this is a crap ship, and I'm sorry, they're wrong. This is a fine ship. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We are on our way to 15,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough for that. We've had some amazing amount of new subscribers recently. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Stay safe and take care of yourself during these times. And I hope to catch you guys in the next one.